man in Kano said he was the most beautiful man they had ever seen. But not one of them noticed, not even once, that when he stood in the sun, the ground beneath him stayed perfectly clean. No shadow. Not even a faint one. And Amara married him anyway. The village of Tunde-Oke sat at the edge of a wide savanna where the grass grew gold in the dry season and the Baobab trees stood like ancient guardians with their arms stretched toward the sky. It was a village that knew its rhythms. The morning drum called men to the fields. The evening drum called children home. The market opened on Tuesdays and closed before the sun touched the hills. Everything had its order. Everything had its place. And in that village lived Amara. She was 22. Tall, graceful, with a laugh that started in her belly and ended in her eyes. She was the kind of woman people noticed without meaning to. Not just because she was beautiful, but because she was alive in a way that made everyone around her feel more awake. But Amara had one flaw, the kind that hides inside a gift. She trusted her eyes completely. What she saw, she believed. What was beautiful, she wanted. What she wanted, she chased without stopping to ask questions. Her mother had warned her about this since childhood. Amara, she would say, stirring the evening soup by firelight, not everything that shines is gold. And not everything that smiles has a soul. Amara would laugh and kiss her mother's cheek. Mama, you worry too much. But that was just the beginning. Because the morning the stranger rode into Tunde-Oke on a dark horse with no dust on his clothes, despite the long dry road behind him, Amara saw him first. And something in her chest shifted. His name, he said, was Deo. He spoke with the accent of no place anyone could identify. He said he was a trader from the north, looking to settle, looking for a home. He smiled with all his teeth and his eyes held the warm color of firelight, golden, flickering, impossible to look away from. He brought gifts. Fine cloth for the elders. Kola nuts for the chief. Sweet palm wine that seemed to never run out no matter how many cups were poured. Within 3 days, Tunde-Oke loved him. Within 7 days, Amara was in love with him. Her best friend Sod pulled her aside by the water well on the 8th morning, eyes low, voice lower. Something is wrong with him, Amara. Amara laughed. Wrong. Did you see the cloth he brought? Did you taste that palm wine? I don't mean those things. Sod hesitated. Yesterday, when he stood beside the chief's compound at noon, I looked at the ground. Amara, the ground was empty. He had no. You're imagining things. Amara picked up her water pot and walked away. She did not look back. She should have looked back. They were married on a Saturday. The celebration was the largest Tunde-Oke had seen in 10 years. Drums from before sunrise to after moonrise. Roasted goat and pounded yam enough for 3 villages. Deo danced at the center of the compound with a grace that made the older women whisper that even the spirits would be jealous. Amara had never been happier. For the first month, everything was perfect. Too perfect. Deo never slept. Not truly. Amara would wake at 3 in the morning to find him sitting at the edge of the bed, perfectly still, eyes open, staring at the wall. When she touched his shoulder he would blink slowly and smile, but the smile never reached the golden eyes fast enough. I don't sleep much, he told her. Never have. She believed him. The compound dogs would not go near him. They pressed themselves against the far wall whenever he walked through the gate, ears flat, tails buried. Old Mama Risi, 90 years and blind in one eye, would turn her head away whenever she heard his voice, pressing her lips together like a woman swallowing something bitter. Small things. Easy to explain away. But then came the afternoon of the 2nd month. Amara was grinding pepper in the courtyard. The sun was directly overhead, the kind of midday sun that turns the red earth orange and makes shadows short and sharp. She looked up to call Deo for his food. He was standing in the center of the courtyard, directly in the sun. And the ground beneath him, the blazing, flooded, merciless midday ground, was completely bare. No shadow. Not a sliver. Not a suggestion. Nothing. Amara's grinding stone slipped from her hands. She stood there staring for a full minute. Her heart was beating in her throat. Her mouth had gone completely dry. She blinked. She looked again. Nothing. Clean, empty ground beneath a man who stood in full sun. Deo turned and looked at her. His golden eyes held hers for a long moment. Then he smiled, slow, wide, and just slightly wrong. "Is the food ready?" he asked. His voice was the same as always. Warm. Easy. Beautiful. Amara nodded and went back inside. She did not tell anyone. What happened next still haunts me. Because that night, Amara woke at exactly midnight to find the bed beside her cold and empty. She lay still and listened. The compound was silent. No movement. No sound. Not even crickets. She rose quietly and went to the door. Deo was standing at the far end of the compound, back to her, facing the baobab tree at the compound wall. He was speaking. Low, rhythmic words in a language she had never heard, not from the north, not from the south, not from anywhere on any map. And as he spoke, the baobab tree leaned toward him. Slowly. Impossibly. Its ancient trunk bending like a listening man. Amara pressed herself against the doorframe, hand over her mouth, and did not breathe. After a long moment, Deo stopped speaking. The tree straightened slowly. He stood still. Then, without turning around, he said, quietly, perfectly calmly, "Go back to bed, Amara. It is not yet time for you to understand." She ran to her mother's compound before dawn. Her mother listened without interrupting. No questions. No reassurance. When Amara finished speaking, her mother sat in silence for a long time. Then she rose and went to the iron box beneath her sleeping mat. The one Amara had never been allowed to open, and removed a string of dark beads knotted around a piece of folded cloth. She placed it in Amara's hands. "Your grandmother gave me this," she said. "She said I would know when to pass it on." "What is it?" "A SIM cord. Wear it on your wrist tonight. And look at your husband, really look, before you sleep." Amara did not understand. But she went home. She cooked. She smiled. She sat beside Deo at dinner and watched him eat. Or pretend to eat, she now realized. The food disappeared, but she could not say she had ever truly seen him chew, truly seen him swallow. That night she waited until his breathing had settled into its too perfect steadiness, and she turned in the darkness and looked at him. And the SIM cord grew warm on her wrist. And she saw. Not a man. Not a trader from the north. Not Deo. Beneath the beautiful face, beneath the golden eyes and the easy smile, was something ancient and hollow. Like a costume worn by something that had forgotten what it was trying to imitate. Beautiful on the outside the way a river can be beautiful, and just as willing to pull you under. He was an emery. A spirit being who crossed between worlds wearing borrowed shapes. They did not come for malice always, sometimes they came out of loneliness. Sometimes out of hunger for something they could not name. But they could not stay. And whatever they touched too long, they unmade. I didn't understand it then, but I do now. Every gift he had brought, the cloth, the wine, the cola, had come with a quiet price attached. The village had been slowly, gently, giving pieces of itself away without knowing. 3 children had fallen ill in the 2nd month. 2 elder men had stopped sleeping. The market well had run low for the first time in 40 years. Tunde-Oke was being quietly emptied. And Amara, beloved, trusting, beautiful Amara, was the vessel he had chosen to anchor himself to the living world. As long as she stayed married to him, he could stay. As long as he stayed, the village would slowly fade. She did not run. She went to the oldest woman in Tunde-Oke, Mama Risi, blind in one eye, who had always turned away from Deo's voice. Mama Risi already knew. "I have been waiting for you to come," she said. "I smelled what he was the first day. But this is not my battle. It is yours. What do I do?" You must name him. His true name, not the one he gave you. Speak it at sunrise. At the base of the Baobab tree he speaks to. Speak it with no fear in your voice. None. If you shake, even once, he wins. How do I find his true name? Mama Risi smiled her ancient, crooked smile. You already know it. You have known it since the night you watched him speak to the tree. You heard one word repeated 3 times. That is always the name. Amara went still. She had heard it. In the river of strange words. One sound, rising 3 times like a stone thrown 3 times against the same water. Eswaren. She went home. She did not sleep. She sat and breathed and held the seeing cord around her wrist and waited for the sky to shift from black to gray. When the first pale light appeared at the horizon, she rose. She walked to the Baobab tree. She stood at its roots. Her legs were shaking. Her heart was a fist hammering at her ribs. Deo appeared at the compound door. His golden eyes found her across the distance. Something changed in his face, the beautiful mask shifted, cracked slightly at the edges. He knew. He walked toward her. Fast. Too fast, faster than a man should move at dawn, faster than feet should carry a body, more like water running downhill than a person walking. She opened her mouth. He was halfway across the compound. She closed her eyes. She breathed. She said it. Eswaren. One word. Steady. No shake. No whisper. Clear as morning water. He stopped. Like a fire when the wind suddenly dies, he simply stopped. The golden eyes went out. The beautiful face went still. The dark horse at the gate reared once, screamed once, and was gone. And Deo, or the thing that had worn his face, crumbled quietly into red dust and river water and was gone before the sun had fully risen. The Baobab tree stood straight and still. The compound dogs came out from the wall and walked calmly to their bowls. Somewhere in the village, a child stopped coughing. The market well filled overnight. Amara did not marry again for 3 years. Not because she was broken. Not because she was afraid. But because she needed time to learn a new way of seeing, one that went deeper than faces, deeper than gifts, deeper than golden eyes and easy smiles. When she finally married a quiet man from her own village, a farmer with rough hands and a shadow that stretched long and dark and beautifully ordinary in the morning sun, she wept at the wedding. Not from sadness. From relief so deep it felt like gratitude. Her mother held her hand through the whole ceremony and said nothing. She did not need to. The village of Tunde-Oke recovered fully. The children grew strong. The elders slept again. The well never ran dry after that year. But they remembered. They told the story at every wedding feast, every naming ceremony, every night the children gathered under the Baobab tree to listen to the elders speak. They told it so no one would forget. And now, I am telling it to you. The ancestors teach us this. Beauty is the oldest disguise. And longing is the door that lets the wrong things in. Amara was not foolish. She was human, hungry for love the way all humans are hungry for love. The Emery did not trick her with lies. He tricked her with exactly what she wanted to see. That is the most dangerous deception of all. Africa has always known that the world is layered. That what stands before your eyes is not always the full truth. That discernment, the ability to see beyond the surface, is not a small gift. It is a survival skill. It is sacred. Look at the shadows. Always look at the shadows. Not to live in fear, but to live in wisdom. Because the ones who wish you harm rarely arrive wearing a frightening face. They arrive wearing the most beautiful one you have ever seen. Check the ground beneath their feet before you give them your heart. If this story stirred something true inside you, something your grandmother always tried to tell you, then you already belong here. Subscribe to Tales Under Baobab. Every week, a new fire. A new story. A new truth your soul already knows. We will see you at the next fire.